Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now today I'm going to answer a question from a viewer, which is actually quite a probing element to what makes up the modern man. And this gentleman is one of my patrons, so a member of my extended family, and his name is Sjoerd, and he is from the Netherlands. And he asks me, what are the characteristics of the modern gentleman? What does it take to make a chap a chap? And I think that's a really great question, because I use the term chap on my channel quite a lot. And people have asked me, what is a chap? Well, basically, to me, a chap is an abbreviated way of saying gentleman. A chap is a gentleman. But then you have to pose the question, what exactly is a gentleman then? You know, what defines a gentleman? What makes somebody a gentleman? And actually, I think it's changed significantly in the last few generations. What the concept of being a gentleman, how has it changed? I think a few generations ago, to be a gentleman, I think you would have been the product of a number of things. The first of which would have been a classical and most likely a private education. And even beyond that, the likelihood would have been here in the UK, you would have gone to a boarding school, where you would have learned those gentlemanly skills from the very beginning of your adolescence. Those skills that you would have called upon all the time in later years when you had grown up and you were now plying your way in the world as a gentleman. Because you would have built that association, that network of acquaintances, of also people who have had the same background, the same education. So that would certainly have been something which would have begun your journey as a gentleman. Then you would have been from a family of good standing. Now this is really something which was a characteristic definitely of gentlemen of past. You know, your social status as a family carries across into future generations. And I think that had a lot to do with whether you could call yourself a gentleman or not. I mean, if you were the son of a coal miner or a car mechanic, you might have risen to great success in life. You might have had great wealth and had a hugely successful life. But could you have ever called yourself a gentleman if you didn't come from a family where you had the social status and where you would have been judged by the contemporaries of that era as perhaps less valuable to society because you didn't come from that background? And I think that was something of an unpalatable part of the way people would have seen gentlemen in those days. The status of gentlemen would have been denied people who did not come from a privileged, wealthy, well-educated background. But I'm very pleased to say that the world has changed, all right? We evolve all the time, and today's gentleman is no longer a relic of the past. In quite the opposite. I think the way you're judged in life now is less involved with your family and what your education was and things which are outside of your control, largely to a degree. I think today the modern gentleman is judged by his actions in the present day. A gentleman is a sophisticated individual who seamlessly blends those classic values with contemporary sensibilities in a web of skill and strengths which you are able to employ in the life that you're living. Now, I've thought about this to some degree. I've made notes here, and these are the core characteristics that I think a modern gentleman has to have to call himself a gentleman. Now, the first core skill I think a chap needs to have is respect and empathy for other people as he goes through life. It's the cornerstone of what a modern gentleman is all about. Your character is judged by the way that you treat other people. And if you treat them with respect, you are immediately catapulted, in my mind, more than halfway towards being a gentleman. It means treating everybody with respect regardless of their background. Be they from a poor background where they have no social status, or whether they're somebody from the most vaulted category of society. we treat everybody appropriately, and we show empathy towards those people. Of course, empathy is, possessing the deep understanding of other people's feelings, and we employ that in the way that we treat people. And as I say, we treat people on a parallel. Whether or not they can do nothing for us at all, we are treating them that way because it is the right thing to do, not simply because by treating that person with respect that they will have the ability to raise our status. Not at all. Basically, that's ass-kissing, gentlemen, and it's very much not an attribute of a gentleman. And empathy, I think, is the key to building strong relationships amongst people and enjoying a harmonious journey through life with the other people that we will meet. And those absolutely, respect and empathy, I think, are the most important attributes of a modern gentleman. Now, the next qualities I think that a gentleman has to have is integrity and honesty. I was shocked only last week when I was reading my paper over my kedgeree in the morning for breakfast, and I saw a headline which announced that British people have become increasingly more tolerant of dishonesty and fraud in life, because there is so much of it present in the world today, where people are fluid with their understanding of the term honesty and veracity, that people have just lost their edge when it comes to valuing honesty as a quality. But to me, a gentleman is somebody whose word is his bond in life. If he says he is going to do something, there is hardly anything in the world short of death which will prevent that thing from taking place. Because once you say it's going to happen, it's going to happen. A gentleman exhibits the strongest moral principles as he navigates his journey through the oceans of life. He is honest in all of his dealings with other people, and he expects others to be honest with him, or they will reap the consequences of his anger. But trustworthiness is paramount in all relationships, be they professional or personal or even casual. And I think that is how a gentleman will be truly judged by others, on his honesty and his integrity. Now, the next trait that I think a modern gentleman needs to have in spades to call himself that is really knowledge and curiosity as he goes through life. The modern gentleman is intellectually curious, and he seeks out knowledge at every opportunity on his path through life, even in the most unusual and odd places. And even when he finds himself struggling against obstacles and setbacks and challenges in life, he realizes that actually these are some of the most fertile places in which one can grow an understanding of how to deal things, how to learn new ways of dealing with problems. Because when you've overcome a problem, you've faced it, you've critically thought about it, you've come up with an answer, a solution, you've put it in place, you've delivered it, you've come out the other end, you're never going to have that problem again. And anybody around you is going to benefit from the experience and knowledge which you have gained. So I think the gentleman is always seeking knowledge. He is always looking for ways in which he can learn. I always say constantly curious is the mindset I try to invest in my own mind. And these attributes will make the gentleman an incredibly good conversationalist. He will be able to speak to people from any level of life, from somebody who is perhaps just starting off, maybe young, junior, inexperienced, not well versed in the ways of the world, or somebody who is very experienced, very senior in life. The gentleman will use the knowledge and the skills which he's imbibed on his journey to be able to hold that sparkling, witty conversation with anybody. And that truly is what will set you apart from others as a gentleman in any social or professional gathering. Now, the next area in which I think a gentleman has to excel, and you knew this was coming, is style and grooming. But there's a caveat to that, all right? Appearance is not everything. The ability to look sharp, smart and dapper in nice clothing does not make you a gentleman. Some people think it does. Some people think that the application of nice clothing turns them into something which they are not. In fact, it is just the veneer of the person. What's on top, what you can see. It's what's on the inside that truly matters. However, a gentleman does understand, and he pays attention to his personal presentation, because he knows that will indeed have a significant impact on the people that he meets as he goes through life. Now, the gentleman dresses with style and taste, and he knows how to dress for the situations that he's likely to walk into. He knows how to dress appropriately for the smartest situations. He knows how to dress down casually and blend in with everybody else. But he also knows the intricacies of things like smart casual, which involves walking that tightrope between two different genres of clothing. He demonstrates confidence in his ability to dress well, although he is not consumed to the point of obsession by always looking good to other people, by dressing in a certain way, always winning the room. There's that healthy balance to the way he lives his life. And his grooming reflects a strong commitment to self-care and a healthy balance to the way he lives his life. It is absolutely not merely about the clothes you wear. As I say, that's just on the outside. It's what's on the inside that truly matters. Now, the gentleman also demonstrates confidence and humility. He exudes confidence in pretty much every situation he goes into. He's comfortable in his own skin. He knows his strengths and he plays to them where he encounters situations where they are going to be appropriate. But more importantly, as well as knowing his strengths, he understands and appreciates his own weaknesses. And where there are people around him who are better qualified to deal with a situation, maybe they're somewhat more junior, less experienced than him, but he will recognize they have got the skills necessary to get this particular job done. The true gentleman will always defer to the person who is likely to perform best in that situation. It's not about being the alpha male and asserting dominance on everybody around you. It's horses for courses. Play to your strengths, understand your weaknesses, by all means work on them to try to improve them. But where somebody else is better qualified to deal with a situation, you better make sure you're deferring to them. Make sure the right person is in the right place at the right time. Now, the final skill, if you can call it that, I don't think you can, that a gentleman needs to have is wit and charisma. And I think this is something to a degree which you are born with, but then you can develop it as life goes along. And the modern gentleman, I think, has a magnetic personality. When he enters a room, people know that there is an electric presence amongst them. And he is able to chat with people and create that warm, welcoming atmosphere amongst any group of people in which he finds himself usually at the center of that crowd. He has a really good grasp of humor. He's not afraid to engage in jokes and tell a witty story. He's not above the point of using a little bit of basic Anglo-Saxon language. It's not about never using profanity, it's about using profanity at the right time. However, the skill of the gentleman is knowing when it is decent and appropriate to do that. So remember, folks, being a gentleman is not about dressing in a certain way or having a certain income or even adhering to a set of rules which were set way back maybe 2 centuries ago. The true gentleman is on a constant journey. He is constantly curious. He's always looking to be the best version of himself and draw along other people with him on that journey. And if you seek to be a gentleman, or a chap as I call it in life, these would be good qualities to add to your repertoire of skills on the life journey. Well, I hope I was able to answer your question. Maybe a little verbose, lots of words, but useful if that's something you're interested in. If you have enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you'd like to see more, click subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee, you can become a patron, you can drop me a comment, you can even drop me an email. I'd love to hear your questions and I'll try and help you with an answer which is useful. So, Until the next time, take care and be the best gentleman that you can be on your life journey. And I will see you again very soon.